Phoenix flames are due upon my skin. But this fucking cover art, we are going provocative with this one, boys. It's a really odd record. This album, I don't really know exactly what type of genre I would label it as. It's got elements of like glitch pop, elements of folk and chamber pop too, which is a musical direction I personally didn't at all expect, because my only reference point for Eartheater's music is her Trinity mixtape from like last year or 2 years ago, which was a self-released project, and I know she's got a lot more music released under her name before that. But yeah, that's all I'd heard, and that record is just like banger city, with really cloudy trap production on it, and it's got like some soaring hooks, some crazy vocal performances on there. I thought it was a pretty exciting project. But Phoenix is massively different. On this record, I think at its best, it's really eerily seductive and evocative, very slow paced, more of an atmospheric listen, more kind of cerebral and pleasant, and considerably more patient and abstract. And even though that previous project, Trinity, was a lot more on the rambunctious side of things, this record has got the similarly very witch-like aura I get from Eartheater's music. It sounds like it's some weird space rituals being summoned on every song. Phoenix is the album where she kind of tries to further realize the weird world that Eartheater's music lives within. This record has some really passionate like vocal ballads, some really brittle acoustic guitar moments, some really harsh, cutting, glitchy production too, some ambient soundscapes and points, like on the second track on the record, which has this really alluring and eerie, warped, unstable sample loop that just keeps kind of growing as it goes along, creating a really vivid atmosphere. All of it combines together to effectively kind of form a record that sounds like the soundtrack to an alien planet like breaking apart or something kind of tragic. There's a really devastating blow to Eartheater's voice sometimes. However, I found this record to be paced a little bit awkwardly and to be generally kind of confusing with all of its musical twists and turns. And I think it can also retread a few of its ideas to a bit of an underwhelming capacity, especially in the second half of the album. This record moves kind of sluggishly. It really does kind of challenge your patience with it. It's never really giving you exactly what you're expecting, but it is tracks like Metallic Taste of Patience or Below the Clavicle that have this really dumbfounding and profoundly moving sort of pull to them that's pretty respectable. It's quite a bold record, and it's structured very interestingly too, with a lot of these kind of ambient like interludes and stuff. There's quite a few ambient interludes. Some of these interludes actually do a good job of balancing like an eerie atmosphere with something a bit more explosive and blunt. And all things considered, it's quite an enchanting listen at its best moments, and it complements her singing style well too. However, I do have an issue with her singing voice personally. It's not bad. On the track Below the Clavicle, I actually think it's incredible, but her tone, she never really changes it. I personally found her voice to get a little bit grating when it entered that second half. That's just me. I think this record works better in smaller doses. How to Fight was a track that I really struggled with. I think this is the most clear example of just vocal deficiency. This was a single. This is a shit single, bro. I think this is a whack song. I didn't really care for How to Fight. There's this like obnoxious escalating reverb kick drum that consistently repeats throughout the song, which I personally think deflates the tension every time it happens. The track is through and through always in this weird, uncomfortable, unsatisfying, unfulfilling limbo, never really progressing anywhere too satisfying, never really reaching any big moment of finality. And her voice, it sounds really flat. She sounds really weightless. Like, I guess she probably was trying to sound kind of defeated and this and that, but it left no emotional punch on me because the instrumental was sounding equally flat. It just overall felt like a bit of a filler moment for me. This track being one of the ballads, I guess, one of the more acoustic ballads on the record. There are like quite a few of those on the album too, especially the last like 3 songs were all acoustic ballads, dude. It just wasn't grabbing my attention. I just thought it was a little bit monotonous. So the pace and the musical ideas, the way it all comes together, I think it ultimately makes for a pretty frustrating, confusing, but interesting musical experience. How much did I get out of it? How much did I enjoy it? Sadly, not that much. I thought it was, bold. It was cool. And I think it definitely shows potential for Eartheater to make something really artful and emotionally potent. She definitely has that in her. It just didn't hit for me this time around. My favorite track was actually Volcano. I thought that song was fucking crazy. The production on that shit is mind-blowing. And again, Below the Clavicle was a great single. I love how devastating this track sounds. It sounds like a dream that's kind of slowly shifting into a nightmare or something like that. I'd say it's a 5 for me. A few brush-ups on the pacing and a more consistent musical thread tying these ideas together would have kind of made this a bit more of an emotionally fulfilling experience for me to listen to. I'm not really too excited about listening to this again, but I'm definitely going to be keeping my eyes peeled for what Eartheater does in the future. She's definitely a really fascinating artist. But yeah, this one didn't really excite me all that much, even though it did have some really strong high moments. Yeah, there you go. There's my review. Those are my thoughts on the album. Hope you liked my video. If you disagree with it, that's fine. That's like fine. That's fucking fine. If you disagree with it, if you disagree with this opinion, buddy, if you have the nerve, the audacity to disagree with this opinion, you're going to hell. You're going straight to fucking hell. Your future's ruined. There's no going back for you. You didn't agree with my opinion on this new Eartheater record? You're done. It's a wrap. Say goodbye to your hopes and dreams. You're going straight to fucking Satan. Fucking dead. Buffalo State. That is